Okay, and we are recording now. Thank you everyone for joining us again today on Famhealth. Today I'm here with the wonderful Mona Jauhar, who is a registered dietitian and nutritionist in New York. And thank you so much, Mona, for coming, as always, making the time for us and talking to us even throughout this difficult time.
Always a pleasure to be on Famhealth and help out.
Awesome. So today, everyone, we will be talking about COVID, of course, and gut health, and just a few general tips from Mona on nutrition and diet during COVID, and kind of what's important to keep in mind. We specifically wanted to talk a little bit more about gut health because I know many of us, including many of the home chefs that we work with, and many of the let's call them up and coming home chefs that are cooking for the first time, are just finding their way into the kitchen. And I think it's really important at this time that we try and help people understand what gut health is and how that relates to eating healthy and how that relates to COVID. So without further ado, Mona, if there's anything I left out that you wanted to mention, please go for it.
Well, the first thing that I'd like to start with is a lot of gratitude for our frontline workers who are literally putting their lives at stake to help the community who are sick. So big kudos to them. And really, it's about us being as a community, how we can help is taking good care of ourselves. Literally, we take good care of ourselves. The less sick we get, the less likely we are to land up in a hospital, the less likely in the ICUs, the less likely to die. So it all starts with taking good care of yourself so that you can be helpful to the community too.
Of course, thank you so much. And yes, thank you to everyone out there who is on the front line of this and working very hard day in and day out to try and make, the healthcare system work for all of us. So the first thing I want to ask you is, I mentioned a little while ago, gut health, and that seems to have been kind of your biome, as they say, like this has become kind of a trendy thing to talk about. So before we actually dive into a little bit more of the specifics, what exactly is gut health?
So let me start by giving you a little background. I mean, I've been asked this question so many times, is why are certain people ending up in the hospitals? Why do certain people are asymptomatic? That is, they do not even exhibit any signs or symptoms of disease. Yet when we test them for antibodies, they turn positive. So they were somehow exposed to the virus, yet did not have any symptoms. Then there are some which will have some symptoms and it'll pass, and they'll be just fine. It would be like a flu. And then there are some that will end up in a hospital. And in fact, there's stats out of here that I'll share with you. And then there are some that'll die. So a lot of analysis has been done, and it all lands up with immunity. Like, how strong is your immune system to handle this onslaught? And where does this immune system reside in our body? I mean, we know the heart, we know the liver, we know, the lungs, we know where all of these are. 70% of our immune system lies within our gut. So, so that is the reason why in this time particularly we need to take care of our gut. I would say that would be the most important thing to do, is to take care of your gut, make sure that that machinery is running in ship-shape fashion so that we can fight that onslaught of virus.
What do you mean by that, Mona? What do you mean by the gut is sort of the biggest contributor to immunity? How does that work?
Okay, so let's see, how is the virus going to impact us? Like what's the method of action? So it could be one of three ways. One, that our immune system is so strong, which is like our security system. It is so strong that the virus cannot even impact us. It will not have any impact. That will be the asymptomatic people, that our defense mechanisms are absolutely 100% on par and nothing will impact us. The second is when, okay, so our defenses were down a bit, or there was some leaks, some holes, the virus was able to get in. The second mode of action is that the viral will get inside and will start replicating. And when it replicates, that's when we get the symptoms, the exaggerated symptoms. That is when they call it like the cytokine storm. Mm-hmm. Right? And then the third one is like how it will then spread in our bodies.
Yeah.
Right? So there is a strong correlation between the gut and the lungs.
Okay.
Given that every organ in our body has the mucosal lining, has the microbiome. So the microbiome that we have in our guts, we share kind of the same microbiome in our lungs too. So if your defenses are weak when it comes to microbiome, and your microbiome is not strong, you would know that, the lungs are going to get impacted too. And especially when it comes to COVID, when ARDS is like one of the causes of death, people can't breathe, they need the ventilators. That is like, it has been shown as one of the causes that when your microbiome is weak, we know that, it is going to reflect in your respiratory system.
And so just taking a little bit of a step back, what exactly is a microbiome?
So microbiome, and I've covered this topic many, many times at Famhealth.
I know.
Yes.
With us.
I can't say it enough. Microbiome. Our gut is host, or rather I should say we as human beings, we are just hosts to these trillions of bacteria that live inside us. We're one. But inside of us, it is these little buggies that are controlling every single what you call it, reaction in our body, every single system in our body. So basically, a lot of people say, and especially in functional medicine, we say, you are what your gut is. You are what your microbiome is. They are the ones that will control your, right from your brain to your lungs to your thyroid to like every single system in the body. So the healthier your microbiota is, the healthier these bacteria are, the stronger they are to fend off these viruses. The weaker they are, or the population of bad bacteria is more than the good bacteria, that's when your defenses are down and you're more apt to, being a prey to these viruses.
Okay. And so what can we do to keep that microbiome healthy?
Okay. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And since we're talking like in this time, which is a testing time with COVID, I would like to kind of gear this towards gut and viral protection.
Right.
Okay. So when it comes to how the virus, like I told you, right? So one is your defense mechanism, your border security patrol. So there are certain things, and this is all inside the gut. So one of the things that we use is antivirals. Okay. So there are antivirals that are pharmaceutical, and then there are antivirals that are in your kitchen, in your refrigerator.
Right.
So the most potent antivirals that have been studied and that have clinical research on them, and we know that they work, are ginger. that it has a compound called gingerol, and that has been shown to have very potent antiviral effects. Then there is garlic. Garlic has a compound called allicin, and again, a very potent antiviral. And then, of course, vitamin D. So these three things, they have, gosh, research over research, just, you know, confirming the fact that they do have, when taken, you know, as the first line of defense. So these are the natural antivirals. One thing I'd like to mention, which a lot of people don't know, is when we use garlic in our food, garlic has an enzyme called allicin.
Okay.
And that is released after we break the garlic. So when we crush it and we chop it, you need to just leave it for about 2 to 3 minutes before you throw it into your cooking. That's when the amount of that enzyme is the highest and will give you the maximum antiviral effects.
Okay.
So that is the first line of defense. The second line of defense, when it comes to antiviral, is, okay, so now the virus has come inside my body. So I need to stop it from replicating, right? So what are the things that stop it from replicating? It would be something like a zinc. And I'm sure, like, there's so much buzz about zinc and how it affects our immune system, especially during this time. You'll see, like, all these minerals that I keep talking about, all these compounds that I keep talking about, they have a pleiotropic effect. That is, they don't just affect like one system, they affect things at a multi-layered, multi-system approach. So zinc, which is in high quantities in meats, in legumes, like especially in protein, pumpkin seeds are very high in zinc. So eating more quantities of that is very helpful. Again, vitamin D, it affects at it all, like I said, it is an antiviral. It also affects at the replication state. So if we do introduce vitamin D, I mean, whenever our bodies should have adequate levels of vitamin D, and that will help in preventing the replication of the virus. N-Acetylcysteine is another compound also known as NAC, which is found in the allium family. That is your onions, garlic, ginger, leeks, like all those plants. It's also found in lean meats and oats and sunflower seeds. So consuming more quantities of these foods is very beneficial. And then, of course, immune modulating. That is making your immune system strong. There are some other compounds, again, because of the pleiotropic effect of vitamin D again tops the list. So vitamin D, of course, we know that it is a sunshine vitamin, but a lot of us, even though we live in the tropical regions, we found that people are deficient primarily because they just do not go out in the sun enough. Right. Or their bodies do not absorb enough vitamin D. So making sure that you're testing and your levels are between 50 and 80, that's where you should be, so that your body is able to fend off these viruses and keep your immunity high. So, I'm sorry. The other things that, again, are important in immune modulations would be vitamin A, which is called your beta carotene, that would be all your green leafy vegetables. orange vegetables, which would be your carrots, pumpkins, stuff like that. So vitamin A is very important. Vitamin C, I'm sure that you must have heard about. There's so much buzz about vitamin C and its antiviral immune modulation effects that it has. So increase, and of course, all the flavonoids that it comes with. So increased quantities of vitamin C are very important. And then I want to say that the superfood for gut microbiome, which is the most important, is your probiotic and your prebiotic foods. So probiotics, usually everything that's fermented is naturally high in probiotics. I can't stress enough on probiotics, but at this time in particular, we need to lay a lot of emphasis on the prebiotic foods too. Prebiotic foods are the foods that feed the good bacteria.
Okay.
So
what's the difference then between a probiotic and a prebiotic?
So probiotics are the bacteria that are there, the good bacteria that are there in the gut, and prebiotics are the food for those good.
Got it.
Prebiotics, I mean, the most effective thing that feeds the prebiotics is fiber, right? So increasing the amount of fiber that'll make the good short chain fatty acids. That is the food for your bacteria, for your good bacteria. Garlic, ginger, asparagus. These are all good things that feed the good bacteria.
Got it.
So and you can see on the slide, which you can get the handout from the website, is the list of the probiotic and the prebiotic foods that you should try and increase in, especially in this time. Of course, we should lay emphasis on our gut at any given time, because see, these viruses, today it's COVID, tomorrow there'll be something else.
Yeah.
But if we already have our immune system upregulated, it is very strong, we will be able to fend off bacteria, viruses, molds, fungi, name it. So at the baseline, at the bottom, it is how strong your immune system is.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. So I think keeping this in mind, a lot of us are going into our kitchens and just learning how to cook, especially in India, or, just getting into cooking, not just for ourselves, but also for our homes, our families. And so keeping in mind, like sort of the categories of what you said, what in your mind in the Indian diet is a good way to, or a good meal to eat, or good foods that we should make sure that are already in the Indian diet, but that we can also incorporate more heavily or think about in a more critical way than we do now?
100%. See, we definitely, along with everything that I said, right? So there's other things that impact your gut health. Good fats. So getting good fats in your diet, polyunsaturated fatty acids, staying away from processed foods, from omega-6s, including more omega-3s in your diet, which would be from your nuts and seeds and flax seeds, chia seeds, stuff like that. So including that, eating more fiber-rich food, eating more foods with potassium, because COVID has been shown to deplete the potassium levels in your body.
Can you tell us examples of what has potassium, what has good fat?
Yes. Okay. So let me quiz you. So amazing food. I won't say fruit or vegetable because that'll give it away. It's green. It is high in fat.
Avocado.
And high in potassium too.
Nice.
So eating avocados, incorporating avocados into salad. So let me tell you like how to build a meal. Okay. So for example, if you're having, say, a salad, okay, we start with some greens. A lot of the people, they'll start with lettuce. Boring. I wouldn't. Why? Because I could choose better options, which are more nutrient dense. Incorporating leafy greens, which are high in vitamin A. Spinach. So I could put it on a bed of spinach.
Got it.
I put in some protein because, again, we're getting our zinc from protein. We're getting N-Acetylcysteine from protein. So we're getting all these good nutrients from the protein. So putting in some protein. So if you are eating, say, if you are a non-vegetarian, then you could add some meat, some, lean meats. It could be chicken. It could be wild-caught fishes. Salmon is great because it is high in the omega-3 fatty acids. So something like a grilled salmon, a grilled piece of chicken breast, something like that. If you're a vegetarian, you could add beans, like some rajma or chana or whatever you know you have at hand. So adding some kind of a protein. Then the next layer would be, say, add some crunchies. I love crunchies. So maybe some nuts and seeds. It could be slivered almonds. It could be chia seeds. It could be, I would definitely add ground flax seeds. Again, a good source of omega. Again, a good source of fiber. So great at feeding those little buggies that we need to. And then, of course, I would load up on vegetables. So like I always say, eat the rainbow. Make sure that you try and get as many different colors of vegetables in your, say, salad bowl. So I love red peppers, orange peppers, broccoli, whatever you like. So basically just load up on vegetables and make it wholesome. The last but not the least, like everybody's like salad dressing. So that's what literally
the best part of the salad.
Exactly. So that's what really makes or breaks your hearty salad out here is your salad dressing. So for me, what the most amazing dressing would be extra virgin olive oil. Just make sure that it's cold pressed, it's organic if possible, and some balsamic vinegar if you can lay your hands on, salt and pepper, and it's golden.
Awesome.
So if you're looking for, say, traditional recipes,
yeah.
So,
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily traditional. I do know that there have obviously given, coronavirus and supply chains right now, and especially for a lot of people in India, it's not necessarily super easy to get your hands on, like an avocado even. And I mean, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
In that case, incorporating small little things like nuts and seeds, right? Greens, laying emphasis on greens. Now we're all cooking these days. I know that a lot of the people, they're like my daughters, in fact, they want to cook up like these gourmet, whatever, breads and cakes and pastries and all these things. Are they good for you? I don't know, not at all. And we're actually like going towards the wrong direction. A lot of I see that with a lot of younger kids doing that.
Yeah.
Because they have time at hand and they're at home, they're like splurging on sugar.
Yeah.
And when was it? It was like maybe in the last week, there was a research that came out, and that was especially on viruses and coronavirus, that clearly stated sugar feeds virus. So you want virus? Eat sugar.
Oh no.
Don't eat sugar. Don't eat refined.
Well, having obviously worked with Mona quite a bit in the past, I think a lot of us know how you feel about sugar. Mona's been someone that's consistently told us time and time again that, sugar is just
poison.
poison, worse, more addictive than cocaine. I've heard a lot of things about sugar, and now I definitely do think twice before adding more sugar to things.
I'm so glad you are, but just staying away from processed foods. Because at the end of the day, what are they doing? They're feeding inflammation. They're feeding the bad bacteria. They're feeding the viruses. Everything bad is getting fed by the bad things in our diet. So keeping it simple.
Yeah.
I know that the housemaker is really stressed in these times, primarily because they have to do all the work by themselves. They do not have too much help. So just keeping it simple, even if you don't make a spread that you're used to having 3 vegetables and 2 dals or whatever it is that's being cooked in the house at any given meal, I would go with like maybe 1 dal and 1 vegetable. Keep it simple, but make it wholesome.
Yeah. And how do you do that? How would you make a very simple Indian meal and make it wholesome and try and incorporate some of the lines of defense and some of the good things that are out there for your body that we just talked about?
Okay, so for example, what did I have? It's like early morning, so I haven't had dinner. What did I have last night for dinner? So it was chana. We had the safed chana. I had saag, which I didn't put paneer in. I'm not a dairy fan, so I used tofu. So we had saag, tofu, and we had chana and a huge salad. So we at home, we are gluten-free and dairy-free. So our house is, we do not do roti or, chawal, rice we'll do once in a while. But yeah, that was our meal. So this way I got my greens, I got my lentils, which are providing me with the all the essential vitamins and minerals here. I got my salads, which was from the salad, I got a variety of different colors, all the phytonutrients. And literally, I get my protein, I get my fat, I get my starches. So I get everything in that one meal. And it's simple. It didn't take me too much time.
Yeah.
And yet, it was wholesome.
Got it. So the things that we should remember, the foods that we should sort of think to remember just really quickly to run down the list would be ginger, garlic, healthy fats, probiotics, anything fermented. So do you have a view on dahi? I know that you're sort of anti-dairy.
You are eating dairy, yes, dahi would be really good. Yes.
Okay. So anything else that I've missed?
Eating a colorful meal will basically, who can remember okay, so I need to eat beta carotene, so I have to have the oranges. So
exactly.
So it kind of gets laborious, and and it takes the joy out of food. So just keep it simple, but eat a variety. Feed your bodies a variety of food, because that is what.
And don't have sugar.
So staying away. There's a huge list of the stuff that you want to stay away, because at the end of the day, you have to be cognizant of. Of course, I talked about everything that you should do, but there's a long list of stuff that you should not do also, because what impacts immunity in the wrong way is processed foods. So anything that is processed, and hopefully, I'm really hoping, because of the non-availability, we're cooking more at home and eating less of the processed food. So I'm really hoping that we see some stats, some numbers on the lesser consumption of processed foods in this time. So home cooked food is always good. Staying away from deep fried foods, namkeens, all your samosa, pakode.
That's just a bit difficult to do, I think, at this time, just because we kind of, I have 7 snacks a day, to be honest with you, Mona. I obviously, when you're at home and the fridge is right there and your pantry is right there, anything that's there, you kind of I think my fiance just walked by with Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Yeah.
So let me tell you, that is one of the very important, that's a very, very, very valid and important point that comes up throughout my practice. I can't tell you like every single patient that walks through my office door, but I like to snack. I'm bored and I snack, and it's there in the pantry and I snack. You got to see the reason. Functional medicine teaches you to look inside and see why are you snacking. Are you anxious?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you're snacking. You're bored. That's why you snack. And let me tell you, 9 out of the 10 times, and this is a stat, I'm not making it up. This is a stat. 9 out of 10 times, when you feel you're hungry, that is your snack attack time. When you feel you're hungry, you're actually thirsty.
Okay, yeah, I have heard that.
So count to 5, drink a glass of water or 2, count to another 5, like take 5 deep breaths, and then reevaluate, do I need those Flamin' Hot Cheetos right now or not?
Yeah.
I would say 9 out of the 10 times, it'll be, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So that's when dealing with anxiousness, dealing with stress at this point in time is so
right.
important. Lay enough stress on that, because it is stressful just being cooped up in the house, not being able to leave the house. Yes, I love my kids, my family, but you know what? I miss my friends too. So yes, it does bring up that anxiety. And we need to control the lifestyle factors that are affecting this. So it is like meditation. This is the rare opportunity in a lifetime where we have the time to develop habits.
Yeah.
So habits that we never had time to develop, right? So now is the time where, okay, how do I meditate? Go online. There's a bajillion apps out there. There's so much free content, so much free meditation that people are offering. Deepak Chopra, if you sign up on his website, he's offering, I think, 21-day meditation for free.
Wow.
So amazing stuff happening this time. So make use of the time and develop the techniques, put like good habits in that will reduce stress in the long run. So yeah, I mean, to address your thing of bored eating is most of the times it's anxiousness, it's boredom, and
thirst.
Think about it.
So the last thing I actually wanted to talk to you about is, I think, so first of all, it's sort of allergy season right now. Yeah. I don't know what season it is. It's all kind of blending into one at this point. But it's allergy season right now. And for me personally, I am asthmatic. So I have noticed kind of an uptick on my asthma symptoms. And that really got us at Famhealth thinking about, the plethora of respiratory issues that especially Indian people face because of obviously our high toxin levels in the air and stuff. So a lot of us do already have sort of pre-weakened lungs. And I think the concern is very real that, if and when this lockdown in India does end, that COVID might hit those of us that are, compromised in a respiratory manner in a harder way. So what are some things you could recommend in order to beef up our lungs and respiratory system?
So, you know what, just like I mentioned to you, gut and the lungs, they're interconnected. None of your organs in the body works in silo. Yeah. So they all work in a harmonious fashion. Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier on in our talk, is that you share the same microbiome in your gut with your lungs. So the lungs, the alveoli, the tubules, they all have those little capillaries. Imagine that you have a pipe, and the pipe has a little slippery mucous membrane inside of it. So it is the same mucous membrane that hosts all these bacteria that are there in your gut as well as your lungs. So when your gut is strong, when your gut health is 100%, your lungs will be 100%. So having leaky gut is having leaky brain, is having a leaky lungs. So at the end of the day, we just need to lay emphasis on gut immune axis, and because it is immunity, right? So gut is driving our immunity,
right,
which is driving any of the other symptoms that we're having throughout our body. So it is a whole body approach, not just a lung approach. You'll see when your digestive health improves, your lung health will improve automatically. There are certain things that are mucolytic. So for example, I mentioned N-Acetylcysteine, right? So N-Acetylcysteine is mucolytic. It acts in your body, raising your immunity along with a special benefit for your lungs. So raising the levels of N-Acetylcysteine, raising the levels of glutathione in your body, those will definitely help.
And how do we do that again?
So what increases the N-Acetylcysteine in your body is your proteins, right?
Okay.
So having proteins, lean meats, allium family. So that'd be a ginger, garlic, onions, leeks, stuff like that. Oats, again, high in N-Acetylcysteine, sunflower seeds, high in N-Acetylcysteine. But if somebody like you who is already having symptoms of asthma, I would supplement with N-Acetylcysteine, and that will give you a lot of benefit.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mona, for joining us today. If there's anything else that you would want people to be aware of in this time with regards to gut health, please share.
Abhi baaki kuch add karu ki should I? You're gonna edit this, right?
Yeah, I can edit it.
As in, like, do we talk about how obesity is playing a big, huge role now, or?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, sure.
1 second, there's like amazing stats that this morning actually, I came across, which were like, whoa, it was really a slap on the face. Okay.
All right, I can like add a connecting question so it doesn't seem so awkwardly placed.
Kya bolegi? Comorbidities?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we've heard a lot about actually are, and just talking about asthma as well, is COVID and comorbidities and some issues that have been brought up, like diabetes might, if you have diabetes, you should be especially careful, and other kinds of lung conditions. And apparently, one of the things that we've been hearing about is obesity. So, based on your research, have you heard anything about obesity and its connection with COVID?
100%. So, what are we seeing to connect our talk, right? So what are we seeing these days is people who are getting more impacted by the COVID virus, and it's true. It's applicable to every virus that is out there. The comorbidities usually are, people think that it's like your heart disease, diabetes,
right.
Cancer, stuff like that. But we're seeing more and more with the studies coming out, obesity. And obesity is like a major factor. People being sick is major factor. And all these comorbidities, when you look at them, they are inflammatory in nature. Heart disease is inflammatory, your diabetes is inflammatory, and definitely obesity is an inflammatory disease. So we're just like watching news, and they were talking about some of the stats out there. 7 out of 10 Americans have some kind of a chronic disease.
Oh, wow.
And of that, of course, that makes them so much more susceptible towards ending up in a hospital. Only 12% of the American population is what we call healthy. The rest, 88%, are unhealthy. 75% of the general population is overweight.
Oh, wow.
40% of them are in the obese category.
Wow.
Now, you know, there's studies coming from all around the world. There is, and now people are like compiling data and seeing what is it that's making one person who's contracted the virus literally asymptomatic, and the other person literally dying in an ICU. They saw that 40% of say hospitalizations in New York City, I can quote those because I know them, were between the ages of 20 and 40, not the elderly that we thought, oh, 65, 65, that, you know, they must be immunocompromised, so yeah, they're gonna die. No, it was between the ages of 20 and 40. And off of them, people who were obese were 3 times more likely to die.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, we, you know, just managing our own bodies. If our body is not strong, we're not going to be able to fend off these viruses. So the virus is not in our control. They're saying approximately between 40 to 70% of us will get impacted by the virus.
Yeah.
What population do we want to be in? Do we want to be in the asymptomatic kind and just like be done and over with, or are we the ones who are going to end up in the hospital? That is up to us to control, and that is in our hands. Today it's Corona, tomorrow it'll be something else. Something or the other is always going to keep coming in. This is an 18-month probably process until some kind of a vaccine comes into place. So we still do have a lot of time to work on our bodies, to work on our health, to work on our lifestyle, to improve all these things, to build up our immunity, to build up our gut health.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully, you know, we will all watch this conversation between us and learn a few things about how to be eating. And I think the point that you touched on in the end is really important, that, you know, today it was Corona, tomorrow, who knows what it could be. And really our best hope of fighting viruses in the long run is just taking better care of ourselves. So, you know, thank you. That's an amazing message, and one that, you know, I hope people will take away from this conversation. And thank you for joining us as always. We love having you on Famhealth. And if you have any questions for Mona, head to famhealth.in/community and post them for free, and we will go ahead and ask her. So thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you everybody for watching, and be healthy, be safe.